Alright, y'all, we back with another Solo Leveling Arise video, and today we're gonna actually be going over some of the, leaks that Alpha Leaker had dropped earlier today. As you can see, it's completely, watermarked all over. So, I mean, obviously everybody knows who Alpha Leaker is, right? And then of course we have Nato as well, who is also, releasing the content for him. Let's get right into it. So as you can see, they compiled basically all the parts from the actual half year roadmap that we received from Netmarble about a month or two ago, right? And basically they kind of like, ordered it in a way so that way you can kind of figure or again a grasp or an idea of what is to come and at what specific time, right? This is mainly going to be into September, October, November, and then of course December, right? So we already knew majority of all these things coming, right? So as you can see here, we have Kai'So. Right here it says for Baron, he's going to be weak to Dark and Wind. So if you've already invested a lot into Mirai and Hansei Mi and Wu Jinchu already, then you might be prepared. It kind of all depends, right? We'll see if the Dark or Wind, whichever one, will actually have more impact. I'm kind of hoping that they do have a similar event to Vulcan, where if there's a top 3,000 who beat Baron, that way it kind of gives the community something to do. Of course, like I said, there'll probably be guides and all that good stuff, right, on how to beat it and everything. So look forward to that. Obviously, not for me. I don't really do guides on that because I myself don't have a lot of time to actually do a lot of testing nowadays. So of course, we'll have other players like GoHack, Mosu, of course, Pain, and some of the other content creators, right? So I myself will just be covering like the information rather than the actual content or gameplay, I guess you could say. As you can see here, we got details on Kai'So or Kaiser. I don't know how it's pronounced because one is labeled in one way from rough translations and then the other is a different way, right? And I myself haven't actually read the manhwa, so I don't really know too much, right? Aside that this is Baron's like dragon or whatever. Its passive effect, I'm assuming this is just going to be like the Shadows Authority is going to be defense pen or reduction. Like I said, it says and reduction, so kind of see later on when we get a little bit more news, but that's what it is for now. Of course, we do know in this month of September we're also going to be getting Harper and I don't even Charlotte. I almost forgot her name. So Harper already to me kind of seems like he's going to be kind of a break shield type character with like some like minimal DPS capabilities. I think kind of relatively similar to Sayo. That's what I kind of get from her. So we'll see if that is what she becomes. But this is just speculation. Then we have Charlotte. So Charlotte, I'm assuming, is going to be the main DPS of the team. We do have some DPSs, but like Lim isn't like the best DPS. He's good, don't get me wrong. He's definitely good. You can use him as well for Guild Boss, but I don't really find him that powerful. And then Silvermane Big himself is kind of like, he's good, but I think he needs just a little bit more stats, and they need to buff the damage on the bleed for him to make more of an impact, so he can actually be a main DPS for dark types. So as it currently stands, they just need to buff him one more time, just one more time, and I think he'll actually be like one of the better DPSs in the game. But until then, these are probably going to be the characters that we're going to aim for. I'm going to hold on pulling like A10 for them until I kind of see how Baron is. Depending on how Baron is, then I'll kind of decide later on if I want to, do all that stuff, right? Now that we're past the September stuff, we're going to go into like the October and November things. So we're going to be getting boss raid, roguelike dungeon. As we can see here on this whole image, they still haven't announced anything about dungeon gap when we've had a leak for that game mode like practically since early access. So very weird. Hopefully they do drop in sometime in the future, or maybe that's what boss raid is. Maybe they just change the entire name. Who knows? So it's a roguelike dungeon, and then of course we'll get another max level expansion. So this one's gonna get us to 90, this one's gonna get us to 95, and then the one with Beru later on in December is gonna get us to 100, right? Its weakness is light, and we don't know what else. I'm going to assume if we follow the same kind of timeline and like formula that they used before, with Vulcan being weak to water and wind, and then now Baron is weak to dark and wind. I have a feeling that this boss is going to be weak to light and dark. Maybe we'll see, right? Or not the boss, but like the whole dungeon in general. We're going to be getting a new Shadow as well. So this Shadow was actually in the assets for quite some time. It's a new Shadow Big Rock, so it's that Big Rock Golem or whatever. General skill damage, so it's going to be a skill damage increase. Assuming that this drops, right? Gina's probably going to be a character more relatively used for her skills. I kind of have a feeling that Gina's going to be more of a sub DPS debuffer kind of role for lights. Of course, I could be incorrect, right? And they might just make Gina a support character. I don't think that she will be a DPS though. I really think she's going to be a sub DPS or, you know, utility or support, right? I would love for her to be a DPS because then I would use her all the time. She is like one of the few characters that I'm actually interested in, since like the only ones I'm actually interested in currently is just, you know, Silvermane Bake and Huang Dongsun, and they are not really the best of characters. We're going to be getting a new weapon, the Demon King Daggers, which is going to be a wind weapon. Looks like it's a dual weapon, right? It's a dual weapon, obviously, because it's daggers and it's plural. So we already have the Demon King's longsword. After the buffs and everything, it is a lot better. It's definitely significantly more like noticeable. I've used it over like when I was doing some testing and stuff like that for Vulcan himself. I found that I would actually complete Vulcan a lot faster with the Demon King's longsword than I would with Westwind. On top of that, it is much better because it's just like you don't really have to focus too much on it. Like you just have to do your counter attacks for the extra damage, and that's it. Like you could just use it whenever. Westwind, you have to manage your stacks, you have to do your charge attack, like you have to charge it and hold it down at like 5 stacks so you can try to get maximum output, and then if you crit, then you got to try to shoot it again and all that. The timing is a little bit iffy, you know, depending on the boss's location and all that. So yeah, I feel like Demon King's longsword is definitely a lot better. It could use maybe like just a tiny bit of a buff, like not too much, just increase the damage over time. So aside from me getting off topic, I'm just kind of hoping that the Demon King daggers that they release is significantly more powerful, so that way people can finally stop using Westwind and abusing the hell out of it, because you just kind of use it for everything, right? And plus we kind of needed like a really good SSR Demon King daggers. But like I said, Demon King longsword is way much better than it was previously. I have it maxed and everything, and I leveled it up just like all my other weapons to actually kind of see the damage difference. And it's not going to be better than Moonshadow or Tome, but it's definitely right behind, right? But you know, obviously they're the best for different reasons, right? Not for their damage, but relatively for the overall damage output that you can do with them, right? Next up, we're going to have another character. I believe this character is called Isel? I don't know. So now we got Harper and Charlotte's teacher and a card fortune reader. So one thing I did notice is she's dark, right? So you're definitely going to want the 3 of them. And since I've already labeled this one kind of like a tank breaker and all that, and this one as the DPS, I kind of have a feeling that she's going to be the support character. But I could be wrong, and Charlotte and Isle could be swapped, and you know, one of them could be the DPS and then the other one could be the support. It doesn't really matter. We'll know when the time comes, of course, because this is not too far away, right? Then we have Thomas Andre. So as I had predicted, he was going to be the half anniversary character. I mean, let's be real, Thomas Andre. Yeah, I also kind of assumed he was going to be light, because like, what else would they make him? They're not going to make him dark because we're already getting dark. We just had a bunch of water and wind. So I feel like they were definitely going to go for light next, or fire, and he just didn't kind of fit the fire attribute. So the light was definitely a good fit for him. And you know, it says right here that it's going to be the 13th of November, right? But just keep in mind, a lot of these dates aren't the exact date that they're going to drop. This is just the speculation, just because, you know, if you did the math of when all these things would come, you know, based on what you know and how long events usually take, you could kind of estimate where they're going to kind of land on. So I would kind of like to say that this is subject to change, like the dates. They're not going to be exactly 1-to-1, right? Especially dependent on time zone. Anyways, aside from getting off track with the dates and all that good stuff, him releasing in November, he's going to be a light, and I guarantee you he's going to be a DPS character. For one, they just released Go Gun He, and I don't think they have any intention of making this another breaker character. If they do, he has to be insanely strong, because like a lot of people are hyped for him, and and then that would kind of like diminish the value of Go Gun-Hee. So I don't feel like they're gonna make him a breaker of any sort, and there's no way in hell they're gonna make him a support. So he's definitely gonna be a DPS character, so a DPS fighter. So keep an eye out for that. Of course, when we get more details from Alpha Leaker, right? Next up, we have, I forget her name. I think it's like Kane or something like that, right? I did see some like panels of her like from the manual and stuff, and I got to say she's probably the only female character aside from Gina, the only female character that has been like released in this game that I'm actually interested in. Although I do not like this design, I actually like the one that I saw from her panels, so I'm kind of hoping that they make that one of her skins, because you know I want to like have more, you know, like I want her tattoos to be more revealing, right? It just like, I don't know, she looks way cooler when you can see her tattoos and everything. So I'm definitely going to be A10ing her, even though she's a water mono, which to me is kind of crazy that we're going to get more water characters. But I can kind of see why they want to get into more water characters. You have characters like Alicia, who she didn't relatively fall off, but in more long form content, she just doesn't perform that well because she always runs into mana issues. One of these two characters are going to be a sub DPS, and then the other one is going to be a main DPS. So one of them is going to inflict debuffs and all that. Like, there's no way they release both of them as DPS, right? Like, there's no way. Unless they decide to make Goto Ryuji a breaker, right? It wouldn't be too out of the realm, but I kind of feel like they just kind of throwing all the male characters into the breaker category, and I don't really appreciate that. So I kind of hope that they do make both of them, Thomas Andre and Goto Ryuji, as DPSs to get a little bit more diversity, right? And then Kane, right? So those are the stuff that we're going to be getting in December, right? With the Jeju Island, which is going to be very hype, right? We're going to be getting Beru Shadow, and then I wouldn't even be surprised if we do happen to get a new min, like the start of next year, right? Because as we can see here, Goto Ryuji is going to be releasing on the 25th, but keep in mind, there's also going to be the New Year's, right? And there's no way that they're going to pass up New Year's as like, you know, like that's like a celebration right there. There's no way they're not going to release something else on top of that, right? They have to, right? It's just the way it makes sense. It's a celebration, so it's meant to be hype. So other than that, that's basically what I'm kind of thinking about all of these. Hopefully there's plenty of content. It looks like there's a lot of banners rather than content, which is kind of sucks, because if we're only getting this for October and November, then we're going to be lacking a ton of content. That's 2 months and 2 banners, like 2 banner characters, right? And 2, like, it's just like, I don't know. And I say 2, and I'm not even counting Thomas Andre yet. Thomas Andre is another character that we are also going to have to deal with as well in October. So it's like, you know, there's a bunch of characters that we're going to be getting, but not a whole lot of content, right? So hopefully they do like something or some changes to the game that makes it more exciting and fun, but till then we'll see. Anyways, that's about it. I just wanted to talk about it briefly. I say briefly, but it was pretty long. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.